Learning to code has been one of the most difficult things that I've ever had to do. I'm still learning, but throughout this process, there have been many times where I've asked myself, will I ever be ready? Is coding for me? Will I ever get a coding job? And I've wanted to give up so many times. So I'm going to tell you how I was able to not give up and keep on coding. For the most part, learning to code involves skills that most of us just don't use every day. The first thing to realize is that all of these feelings are really natural, especially if you're like me and coming from an unrelated field. These things include planning, asking good questions, thinking about things in small steps and not just going straight for the end goal right away. We've been conditioned to learn in ways that makes creativity and problem solving pretty difficult. In school, we're conditioned to sit and listen to a boring lecture all day, take a bunch of notes, remember what we learned, and then try to spit it all back up in the form of a test. Code is not like that. It's not solely based on memory. You really have to take your time and take small steps and really ask yourself, what do I want to do? And then think about that problem logically and how you're going to solve it. And also sometimes when you are learning to code, you have to realize that there might not be an answer out there and you might have to come up with an answer. And that might take 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days. If you're working on something and you've come to the point where you feel like giving up, just stop and take a break. Do something fun or something that'll make you feel better. For me, that's usually about 15 minutes of intense exercise. That's how I get all the frustration out. And then you could revisit it in 15 minutes or you could come back the next day. The point here is to not let that frustration cause you to make long-term decisions, which is usually in the form of quitting. Tip number 2 is to just talk to somebody who's been through what you're going through. When you're learning to code, it's very easy to feel like everyone's understanding it and you're the only one that's not getting it. The truth is that everyone struggles and your course probably won't go over this, but what they're teaching you is not something that's very easy to learn. It takes a lot of time and dedication to understand these topics, and when you're alone, you're faced with these problems, frustrations, and anger all by yourself, and you don't really know what to do about it. Having someone to talk to about what you're going through can really help alleviate these feelings. For example, I reached out to an already employed developer and explained to them that I was feeling times of optimism followed by times of frustration, doubt, and wanting to quit. They told me that they went through the same exact thing, and what they did was not quit, and they kept going through it, and now they're an employed developer. Now they have a job. Don't make the mistake of going through this by yourself. Reach out to people. I use LinkedIn, but you could use whatever platform that you want that has developers that might be willing to help you out. Tip number 3 is to manage your expectations. It's easy to feel like you could learn to code in 3 to 6 months. That's mostly due to people saying on the internet that you could learn to code in 3 to 6 months. The truth is that this is possible, but this is the exception, not the rule. In most cases, you should really plan on not learning to code in 3 to 6 months and then just getting a job. When it comes to code, things usually take longer than expected. I know I fell into the trap of thinking that I could just learn everything really quickly and then apply for a job and then get a job. The truth is that's not really how it works. Most people don't show you all of the time that they spent struggling and being frustrated and trying to figure things out. And because of this, we think that things are really simple and easy. Instead of focusing solely on the end goal, maybe give yourself small weekly goals. Like you could say to yourself, this week I'm going to build a to-do app. You could then use that experience and figure out things like how long it takes you to learn, how you figure things out, how you problem solve. And then you could plan for the future and plan for the end goal. Stop giving yourself such high expectations right in the beginning and instead kind of take it a little bit slower and figure out things as you go on. Tip number 4 is to plan. I started doing this recently, but it's very important to figure out a learning schedule that works for you and plan accordingly. During the planning phase, it's usually best to give yourself some extra time. For example, if you plan to be proficient in JavaScript in 2 months, you might want to try doubling that to 4 months. When you're planning your learning journey, it might seem fairly linear and fairly simple, but learning is actually a lot more complex than that. Account for time that you might spend not understanding things and having to figure things out. My course confined learning JavaScript to a pretty small section, and if I was just going based off that course, it would seem like I'd be really proficient in JavaScript from learning topics based on a few hours, but really it took me way more time than that. I had to Google things, I had to look at other courses, I had to refer to the documentation, I had to watch other YouTube videos. I also had to read articles, and these things add a lot of time to your learning journey that you may not plan for in the very beginning. Sometimes I might have to do all of these for just one small topic, and you might not pick up on things as quickly as you think. So now I kind of give myself some extra time when I'm learning a new topic. For example, on paper, it might look like I'm going to complete a certain project within 3 days, but I usually schedule maybe twice, 3 times that, because in between trying to complete the project, I have to look things up, right? I have to Google, I have to figure out things that might not have an immediate answer, and that all takes extra time. In this case, it's better to give yourself more time and complete something quicker than to give yourself less time and then have to push things back because you didn't give yourself enough time. Although I can't promise that you won't quit coding if you follow these steps, what I can say is these are some of the things that really helped me continue and keep learning. So that's it for this video. If you liked this video, please give it a like, and if you would like to see more videos like this, please go ahead and subscribe.